Hello everyone, and welcome to the 2021 Interhouse Public Speaking Competition. This year's competition's theme is Challenge Accepted. This is a very broad theme, but it is quite interesting as it has allowed our fellow speakers to actually step out their comfort zone and overcome any challenge that comes their way. The categories of awards that are going to be rewarded are as follows: Most Promising Speaker, Runner-Up Speaker, and Best Speaker. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our juniors who will be performing a 2.5 minute to 3 minute speech.
Hi, I'm Neha Junior. I'm in grade 8D and my house is Connaught. Challenge accepted. The moment you stop accepting challenges is the moment you stop moving forward. Author unknown. Challenges appear everywhere for everybody all the time. They force us to learn and grow by pushing our limits and making us try new things. Challenges can be big or small, such as beating a sibling in a race, or quarantining and putting your whole life on hold. 2020 was a challenge like no other. It was the first global disaster of the 21st century. The whole world was put to the test. Adults struggled with their jobs and money. Children struggled with school. People on the streets struggled with food. Doctors and nurses struggled with coping, and many human beings struggled with their mental health. However, some people use this as an opportunity for development. They took the opportunity to help others or learn a new skill with the time they spent at home. Others were able to stay afloat or battle their mental health, and that's a challenge just as great. The point is, challenges are shot at you left, right and centre. How you interpret them is what matters. Challenges are opportunities. The opportunity to excel in a hobby or to do well in school. They present themselves to us in many ways. The important thing is to accept the challenge. 2021's theme for Reddam is Challenge Accepted, as many people anticipated 2021 to be a struggle with COVID and adjusting to the new school atmosphere for the next grade. However, it was also expected to have many opportunities for people to work towards. Being back in school, there were many opportunities to do inter-house and play sports again. 2021 will have struggles but opportunities with them, and the theme is basically encouraging you to say, challenge accepted, meaning try out new things. Don't be afraid to reach towards your goal, even if they seem hard to achieve. Take every opportunity you get and make the best of it, because challenges let us grow as people, and that is essential to move into the future. All you have to say is challenge accepted. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Justine Crater in grade 8. I'm in Connaught, and the topic of my speech is Challenge Accepted. Good evening. Has this lockdown got you feeling locked up? Well, today I would like to invite you and challenge you to join me in an interactive online game called CoronaCraft. In this virtual world, you can escape the constant monotony of endless temperature checks and just be a kid again. Welcome to a world where there's no hand sanitizer, no face masks, no social distancing, and moving through levels 1 to 5 doesn't scare you senseless. I challenge you to find your inner warrior and step inside an enchanted world with me as we journey on an epic adventure to defeat and destroy the evil Captain COVID. As soon as you put on your virtual headsets and arrived in this digital land, you will uncover clues along the way. These clues are a compass of compassion, a rope of resilience, a torch of tenacity, and a map of mindfulness. These clues will help you flatten the curve and defeat your opponents. This game will challenge you to be the best version of yourself. Starting on level 1, you will travel through the forest of uncertainty and avoid the biting corona vats lurking in the trees. Advance to level 2, where you'll be escorted through the monstrous Italian outbreak in search of a vaccine boost. As you arrive in level 3, you will come face to face with Donald Trump. He will try to trick you into taking the malaria trapdoor. But don't do it. Instead, proceed to level 4, where you will uncover clues and find answers to guide you to the final level. Level 5. At the end of this game, you will realize that the cure to corona is not immunity, but kindness. So I challenge you to be kind.
I thought to myself, what on earth am I going to say for the speech? But then suddenly I had a bright idea. I could base it on something that happened recently. I'm going to talk to you about how my nerves shot through the roof on Saturday the 13th of March. So let me begin. It was a warm sunny day and I was so excited because I got to see my favourite thing in the whole entire world, my pony named Featherfoot. We arrived at the stable yard bright and early, ready for the day. I went and caught Featherfoot, brushed him down and then got ready to ride. I warmed up and then soon after we started jumping. We started off small and we moved on to the bigger jumps. It was an oxer, a really wide jump, meaning there are 2 poles with a gap in between each pole. They are placed on separate uprights. We started off with the poles being reasonably close together and then gradually they got wider and wider and wider. My pony and I have a really close bond, so we do everything together. I wouldn't be able to do this without him, literally. We were doing the jumps perfectly clean and as they started going up, I put all my trust into him. We were jumping clear and precisely and the jumps were still quite big. My instructor had started moving the second pole wider and wider every time we went around again. The jump got to about 1.5 meters and 1.2 meters wide. I said to myself, challenge accepted. He thought it too, and I could feel it. It was in that moment when I realized that he was the most important thing, and that is basically why I got up every morning and lived each day to the fullest like there was no tomorrow. We sailed through the air, up and over. We made it. I have SA Champs qualifiers coming up, and I know we can do it. So we have accepted the challenge as a team. We have both accepted the challenge and we are going to achieve it with great strength and courage, and I know we can achieve great things. That is my story and what came to mind exactly as we received the theme. And whatever challenges you are going through right now, think challenge accepted and do it to the fullest. You can do it to the fullest you can, and it is very possible you can achieve it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Saskia Subramani. I'm in grade 8, my house is Leinster, and the theme is Challenge Accepted. If you're scared, just be scarier than whatever's scaring you. A quote by Thumper, a fictional rabbit from Disney's animated film Bambi. I like this quote because it applies to so many different scenarios. As soon as you say this, I automatically think of a child being scared of the dark blue monster hiding in the closet or the boogeyman under the bed. I think of the fear they would feel while trying to sleep, with their blanket covering them up right until their nose, so all you can see are their eyes and the top of their head. I was one of these children, among many. I would be terrified, and I guess at the time I probably thought this was a challenge that I would never overcome. But of course I did, because I grew up a little and used a little more logic than imagination. This was a challenge that I took head on, and although it was easy looking back on it, it's still something that I had to overcome, even if I didn't want to. Unfortunately, as we get older, the more difficult our challenges become. But the challenges you may have faced 10 years ago compared to the ones you face now are nothing, because you are stronger and smarter. Life constantly throws a lot of obstacles in our path and doesn't care if we are ready or not. It just happens, and you can't control it. But what you can control, and should, is how you approach them. Don't let it tear you down or make you sad. Instead, look at the challenge like baking a cake. You follow all the steps to get to your final product, and sometimes it's absolutely gorgeous, and other times not so much. Okay, it's okay though. Maybe you made a few mistakes along the way, so you learn from it and do it again until you get it right. Life is full of lessons to learn and mistakes to make. That's the whole point. So when you're done with all the challenges life throws at you, you get to look at this huge cake. Each tier is a challenge you accepted. You get to see how well you did, even if it was a little messy. You're still proud because with every challenge life threw at you, you look back at it, dead in the eye, gave it a wink, and said challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. The moment you stop accepting challenges is the moment you stop moving forward. Let's face it, challenges are hard. After all, they're called challenges for a reason. But if you can start seeing challenges as opportunities to grow, learn, improve, and become a better person, you'll see why we face them. 2020 was one of the hardest years of my life, and that's due to the heartbreaking challenges I had to face. However, I never cry about spilt milk. I have grown exponentially as a person, and now I'm grateful I chose to accept the challenge. Someone once said, challenges are what make life interesting. Overcoming them is what makes them meaningful. We don't grow when things are easy, we grow when we face challenges. This year, I have made the decision to accept any challenge, and I think you should too. I'm not saying it will be easy, but it will be worth it. Because difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations. Roger Crawford once said, being challenged in life is inevitable. Being defeated is optional. If you're willing to put the work in and be pushed out of your comfort zone, you'll see that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Be willing to do more, be more, and learn more, and you'll overcome any challenge you could face this year. An African proverb once told that smooth seas don't make skillful sailors. If only you can start seeing challenges as opportunities, you'll grow and learn so much about yourself. You won't just fly, you'll soar. After all, you can't witness the rainbow without outlasting the rain. So don't limit your challenges. Challenge your limits. Each day, we must strive for constant and never-ending improvement, said Tony Roberts. But how do we challenge our limits? By accepting challenges. Embrace the change and the challenge of it. This year could be harder than last year, but glass half full, challenge accepted. As seen in Annie, the city is full of opportunity. It's yours to take. The sun will come out tomorrow. Thank you.
My name is Miranda Maria Hoffman. I'm in 9E and today I'm representing Munster for Interhouse Public Speaking on Challenge Accepted. The whispers inside your head turn to roars in a sea that churns fiercer, powered by the pump of your heartbeat. The shakes that prance lightly upon your hands turn to trembles that vibrate with audacity's grip. The trickles of perspiration wear away at the pores of your face like waterfalls on fire. The adrenaline of an accepted challenge has kicked in. Adrenaline's power drives you forward into the vast entity of the unknown, where wounds and scars lie, labelled with your name. Where seas churn, deafening your judgment. Challenges are soon to follow. Where grips of shuddering are around, a challenge is near. Where water turns to fire, what will turn to a challenge? Henry David Thoreau once said, if you've built castles in the air, your work need not be lost. That is where they should be. Now put foundations under them. Kingdoms built on concrete slabs of hardship often sprout from perseverance through challenges as they rise through the depths of despair. Fields of poppies once thrived on scarred battlefields, which are now lined with sorrow. But in the present, we are workers, committed to putting brick on top of brick and making our wall reach our desired height. We sculpt and carve our own world. We engrave rivers and streams into the earth, riddled with pebbles that act as challenges. But eventually, they seep into the volume of water, seen only as the stepping stones that help us achieve our final podium of achievement. Footpaths, which are trampled upon daily, to look like a set journey, can be defied and strayed from, forming a second option. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveller. Long I stood, and looked down one as far I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Robert Frost reminds us that each choice we make, each challenge we accept, will carve the casket we choose to open at the end of our journey, and hopefully may it say, "Who chooses me must give and hazard all he hath." Unfortunately, the patient merited the unworthy takes preference over suspense rather than foresight, so the likes of silver, gold and lead caskets will only be known to us once the journey has been fulfilled. So who knows? What if the adrenaline enthralls our mind the next time a challenge lies ahead and you say, "Challenge accepted"? What if you enter the yellow wood from fantasies of dreamers? What if the next challenge you accept is the challenge that makes your life worthwhile conquering? Thank you.
Well done, juniors, for your intriguing speeches. I'm sure everyone can agree that you have successfully accepted the challenge. I would now like to move on to our next group of speakers, which will be our seniors. And they will be performing a speech which is between 3 to 5 minutes long.
People will talk at your funeral. Make sure you give them an interesting topic. This is a quote by Kate Priyanka. We all have the challenge of living our lives by working towards what we want to be remembered as and what we want people to say at our funeral. Have you ever noticed that at a funeral, everyone always mentions the good things about that person? But that is not always completely honest. Some may argue that it is morally correct to only say the good things, as the person is not here to defend themselves or cannot share their side of the story with the bad things. At my funeral, I would like people who talk about me to use humor, because I would like to think I am a pretty jovial person once you get to know me. Brooke Shields did this in her heartfelt eulogy about Michael Jackson. She shared different stories from their childhood and explained how she used to tease them throughout their friendship, making the audience laugh, which she knew is what Michael would have wanted.
We both understood what it was like to be in the spotlight from a very, very young age. I used to tease him and I'd say, "You know, I started when I was 11 months old. You're a slacker." You were what, 5?
I would like my accomplishments to be listed, especially if I devoted my whole life to it. At Nelson Mandela's funeral, Barack Obama said, "It is hard to eulogize any man, to capture in words not just the facts and dates that make up a life, but the essential truth of a person, their private joys and sorrows, the quiet moments and unique qualities that illuminate someone's soul." With these wise words kept in mind, I would like people to talk about my love for dogs, and my love for the arts, and love for my friends. No, my actual friends, and my family. I would like people to leave my funeral feeling inspired from the lessons I've learned in my life. Barack Obama accomplished this in his eulogy.
There's a oneness to humanity, that we achieve ourselves by sharing ourselves with others and caring for those around us.
I want important topics to be mentioned. Things I passionately believed in while I was alive. For example, gender equality, children getting education, and poverty. I would also like quotes I say frequently to be mentioned. A little positive thinking never killed anyone. And how can we effect change in the world when only half of it is invited or feel welcome to participate in the conversation? Truthfully, if I were to die tomorrow and false statements were made at my funeral, I would not really care because the people that love me and care about me knew who I was. However, if I died with young children, I would like nice, factual things to be said so that the image of their mother is not tainted. But the most important thing is kindness. That's what I want to be written on my tombstone. And I need to be kind to everyone around me all the time, as that is what I want to be remembered for. I work towards this every day by trying to be kind to all my loved ones and even strangers. We all need to accept this challenge and work towards what we want to be remembered as. As for your tombstone, it can say anything.
I just don't want my tombstone to read Ross Geller, 3 divorces.
Don't be worried about that. Your tombstone can say whatever you want it to say. It can say, Ross Geller, good at marriage.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Amber Bird. I am in grade 10 and my house is Leinster. My topic is challenge accepted, but I will be focusing on Oscar Pistorius. You are allowed to shout, and you are allowed to cry, but you are not allowed to give up. The person that I feel best suits this quote is Oscar Pistorius. Born without a fibula in both of his legs, Oscar's parents were faced with a major decision that could change his life forever. They decided to amputate his 2 legs just below the knees before his first birthday. Oscar's childhood was shaped partly by tragedy. His parents got divorced when he was at the age of 6. This weakened his relationship with his father greatly. His mother then passed away when he was 15. This made him feel even more alone than what he already did. Despite the challenging decision that Oscar's parents were faced with, he was successfully walking with a pair of prosthetic legs within just 6 months after the surgery. It was at the age of 16 when Oscar was first introduced to track. He fell in love with the sport instantly, but he knew it was going to be a very difficult journey of running. He kept up his strength and endured all the pain. He kept his strong belief that he was always born to achieve something much greater. Oscar Pistorius believed that the pain you are feeling today is the strength you will feel tomorrow, and that every challenge you encounter is an opportunity for growth. Oscar encountered many challenges, but he always found a way to accept the challenge and push through. This is seen simply through every single race that Oscar ran. Every race presented new requirements, new rules, and new destinations. But most importantly, new contestants. Despite the fact that Oscar had a disability, he willingly chose to run up against contestants without disabilities, no matter how strong or how fast they were. To me, this is a great example of challenge accepted, because Oscar did not let the fact that he had a disability determine his worth, nor what he could do or how far he could go. However, situations started to develop differently when the track star made headlines on February the 14th, 2013. Oscar's girlfriend, Riva Steenkamp, was found shot dead in their home in Pretoria. Oscar was soon named a suspect in the case, and a few days after, admitted to unintentionally shooting Reba. Oscar was sentenced to 5 years in jail, but during his long trial, he received a lot of negative criticism towards his name. People soon forgot the positive impact that Oscar made towards the overall South African Olympics and to the lives of those individuals with disabilities. Whilst in jail, we once again see Oscar push through the circumstances and accept the challenge at hand. He does this by strengthening his relationship with God while in jail. He starts to preach to other inmates about Jesus. I believe that Oscar Pistorius is a man full of strength and dedication, despite his one big mistake. He is a great example of challenge accepted.
My name is Ashika Doctor and I'm in grade 10M. My topic for today is challenge accepted. Behind every checkmate, there's a hidden challenge that was accepted. Behind every compromise, there's a challenge that was fought against. Behind every decision, there was a challenge of choosing between choices. Behind every challenge, there's a challenger. Since the first woman on earth up till every woman living on this world has been the biggest challenger and has taken upon the challenge of life, birth, living up to expectations, compromising, but most importantly, the challenge of giving herself into every other challenge. From every little girl that has lost her mother, taking care of her family, to every teacher that tries every day to take care of her family at school and at home. Women have always accepted every compromise that keeps her away from the things she loves and every responsibility that makes her realize that she cannot act like a child ever again. They say women are too weak and sentimental to handle the big world and the big people. Yet people fail to realize that a woman has given birth to the most powerful and influential people. A grandmother, a mother, a sister, and every other relationship a woman has made the strongest people in life today. Every challenge that is thrown at them, may it be as difficult as looking after children or choosing to go out and save other lives, women have always chosen to be confident and try to comfort the people around her. On average, a woman may be more emotional than men and may be more attached and caring than men, but a woman who attempts to challenge herself by willingly give up her body, suffering through mood swings and morning sickness by giving birth to another life, is definitely the biggest challenger there is. The biggest challenge women face today is patriarchy. This is especially evident in the realms of politics. Regardless of a woman's experience, education, or abilities, the patriarchal nature of society fosters the perception that women are less qualified and less competent to men. What patriarchy has done to convince people that a strong and intelligent woman represents problems, a distribute to social order rather than an integral part of it. Biased media coverage of women politicians, stories that focus on women's fashion and looks at the expense of their ideas of policy, understatements this point. It is therefore no coincidence that countries around the world are completely out of step with the rest of the world when it comes to electing a president. Gender inequality, society's taunts, families' expectations, peer pressure, and maintaining the ideal image of an ideal woman in this world, in the world's eyes, and still finding happiness in others' happiness is what we call a woman today. One who accepts the challenge of life by sacrificing her own life is what we name woman.
My name is Kylie Barrow. I'm in Ulster, grade 10A, and the topic for this speech is Challenge Accepted. Good afternoon. It's 1939 and the world is about to be changed as World War II begins. Poland, 4 years into the war, and a 16-year-old girl named Stefania Podgorska is faced with unimaginable life choices. As a Catholic girl who was looked after by a Jewish family when her family could not, she took on the role of saving, feeding and caring for herself and her 6-year-old sister. She then went on to save 13 Jewish men, women and children from certain torture and death by keeping them in her house for 2 years. She had them in a lockdown to save their lives. This is a true story of Stefania and is called The Light in Hidden Places and is written by Sharon Cameron. It is a raw and emotional story that touches hearts and minds. As we navigate through the book, we find one general question being asked. What made her rise to the challenge? What makes someone say, I can, I will, I must? Are people born with the strength to say challenge accepted? 81 years later, in 2020, and the world changed again when the global pandemic, COVID-19, begins. Fear of death became the mindset of millions. The loss of control over everyday actions was taken away. For many, this was debilitating and as devastating as war, because loss of normal life, no matter the circumstances, is hard to accept. It took almost 50 years for the story of Stefania to come out. This was not because she didn't speak about it, but because the true impact of what she had done was only realized at a later stage. The COVID-19 pandemic will also have many stories to come in years later. Many of the challenges faced and hardships overcome will only show themselves in many years to come. Sharon Cameron writes, "We're always living for days we can't get back, so we make new ones, that's all." This is a challenge across the world, not only for a time during a global pandemic, but for people in many countries facing many hardships. Denmark is a country that is well known for its incredible education. It also has an enormous number of refugees, about 39,000, mostly from Syria. When these refugees arrived in Denmark, the children had never seen a school desk, a school book, or even a proper school before, due to them being born and raised in refugee camps. Despite being forced to leave a country that has had civil war since 2011, children being kidnapped into being soldiers, malnutrition, lack of infrastructure, and human trafficking, the Syrian refugees always had a singular motive for things that many take for granted: a safe home and an education for their children. Imagine how they felt. Only after a few months on their arrival, they were put into a lockdown, isolation and quarantine due to the COVID-19 crisis. Yet another challenge. The Danish Refugee Council used Facebook to help refugees with their schoolwork by matching them with local volunteers. Refugees took the initiatives and faced the challenges with resilience and determination. The refugees and the Danes say that the pandemic has created unity among their people. It shows how the world is interconnected and everyone learns new lessons when learning how to care for each other. But miracles still happen, even if we don't think they do. Says Diet E-Man, the author of The Things We Couldn't Say. The world has changed forever. However, our attitudes, mindset, and will to challenge ourselves to do more, be more, and act more stays the same. We've been in a lockdown to save lives. It's a challenge no one knew they could accept. But look at us all, living. Thank you.
Pistols are drawn at dawn. To turn down the challenge would leave you mocked, a coward. A spot is chosen, and dueling pistols loaded. One faces their opponent a distance of 20 paces. Doctors stand by to mend the damage if possible, while friends eye each other warily, wondering why all this is happening. This is what I think of when I think of a challenge. It is doing something considerably hard and necessary. Well, some would argue dueling wasn't all that necessary, but I beg to differ. It was a way of preserving one's dignity and honor, and that was of the utmost importance. Whether it was stupid or not, well, that's a different story. A one-on-one showdown with swords and guns is no easy feat, yet it was a major part of societies, shaping the lives and deaths of thousands of men. Dueling represents the masculine instinct to compete and defeat others to an absurd extreme. And that is what accepting a challenge is. Being driven to do something to an absurd extreme, even if it isn't easy. In a duel, two men face each other on equal terms. They begin at a specified time and a specific place. Usually, one of the men would issue a challenge to another, who would often respond by directing further matters to a second. A second was a friend who came along to help prepare your weapons, make sure the other duelist didn't ambush you, and make sure the rules of the duel were being followed. Seconds were supposed to try to defuse the situation that led to the duel by getting an apology from one party to another. However, seconds were often terrible at their jobs, as they often ended up fighting each other alongside the main duelists. In any event, after one man issued a challenge, the seconds would arrange all the details. The process would take days, but it never blew away. It always took place because it was a challenge, and no one could turn down a challenge. Sometimes I wish society was like that too, driven by honor and integrity, stepping up to every challenge you came by with both pride and honor. Instead, most of the time we run away into our little corners when a challenge is declared. We should already be focusing on choosing our weapons rather than how we could get out of it. No one focused on escaping or finding a way out of a duel. The solution was easy. Apologize, and the duel didn't have to take place. Now, however, we go to great lengths to get out of challenges, and sometimes it can almost be as hard as the challenge itself. You know, the most intriguing thing about dueling is that the duelists were required to face away from each other, only turning to fire when the proper signal was given. This didn't give them time to be prepared or aim their weapons. When they accepted this challenge, the specifics weren't even decided upon. They went into it blindly, and I think it would be quite beautiful if our generation could stop thinking so much about the specifics and just accept the challenge.
Good afternoon. My name is Wessel Mohammed. I'm in grade 11A and in Reddam House. Challenge accepted. According to the Cambridge Dictionary, the definition of challenge is the situation of being faced with something that needs great mental or physical effort in order to be successfully done, and to therefore test a person's ability. The definition of challenge accepted is an expression used to indicate that one is willing to attempt completing a difficult task. We don't grow when things are easy. We grow when we face challenges. At the beginning of March, I decided to enter the Interhouse speaking competition. I enjoyed jotting down my thoughts and allowing my words to pour out. I decided to challenge myself. Challenge accepted. I believe in facing my challenges head on. It definitely resonates to me that when I put in the hard work, I'm prepared to face the challenge in front of me and work harder to overcome all my obstacles. Somebody says it can't be done, I say challenge accepted. Something's out of my reach like the biscuits my mom puts on the top shelf? I say, challenge accepted. I always find a way. I came upon a podcast on iTunes by Chris Ross, where I listened to the speech he gave about challenge accepted and decided to incorporate some of what he said. There are other people who complain about everything, but do nothing to change anything. They'll work hard for a day, or maybe a week, and in the extreme case, a month. But when things don't go their way, they tend to give up. They take the easy way out. They don't find a way. They don't dig deeper inside, and they don't fight for their dreams. If that's what they want, if they want to take it easy, great, but not me. I fight for my dreams. I fight for my potential. I fight for everything I want, and I don't settle for anything less. I'm not here on earth to live within other people's limitations and expectations. I'm here to push past my own. I only see obstacles when I take my eyes off my goals. I'm not here for this level. I'm here to find out about the next level. I was born to push for something greater. I don't stop until I reach the sky. Like the saying goes, the sky is the limit. It can't be done? Challenge accepted. No one has done it before? Challenge accepted. It's impossible? Challenge accepted. Knocked down, not knocked out? Challenge accepted. At the bottom, with no way out? Challenge accepted. When my body says, no more? Challenge accepted. Somebody better, stronger, smarter, faster? Challenge accepted. I don't accept it. It's as good as it gets. I face my challenges head on, and I don't back down. Challenge accepted. We all have one goal, and that is to learn, to achieve, to grow, and to succeed. We're in a world where there's constant change, but are we capable of adapting to the ever-changing and challenging world we all live in today? Especially now, the world is facing one of the biggest challenges ever faced, the COVID-19 pandemic. A world where people are frightened, uncertain, and confused. A world where everyone wears masks and is constantly washing hands and sanitizing themselves and their belongings, effectively mitigating all and or any bacterial risk. Well, I say to COVID, challenge accepted. We need to stay positive and not test positive. Be flexible and most certainly stay safe, especially during these uncertain times. We therefore need to make our strengths and weaknesses opportunities and our opportunities our strengths. Challenge accepted. Sometimes those who challenge you most teach you best. To sum up everything that I've stated so far, I'd like to leave you off with a quote by Rati Bennett. You learn something valuable from all the significant events and people, but you never touch your true potential until you challenge yourself and you go beyond your imposed limitations. Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. Doing my part to save our planet. We are in a climate crisis. If we don't take action, our planet won't be inhabitable by 2040. We won't have a planet to live on as adults if we don't help. Humanity has advanced at amazing speeds, but we've forgotten to take care of Mother Earth in the process. This can be attributed to ever-rising levels of greenhouse gases, especially carbon dioxide, due to mankind's negligence and greed. Carbon pollution traps the sun energy in our atmosphere, similarly to how a blanket traps heat. The levels of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere at the moment are the highest they've been in 3 to 5 million years. These levels have consequences to our health, similar to that of smoking. Do we really want to have to wear masks for the rest of our lives? Aren't you already exhausted of the strict measures we have undertaken during COVID? As global warming continues, there's going to be an increase in the amount of heat waves, droughts, typhoons, and hurricanes, which will cause mass destruction all around the world. While we have already caused irreversible damage, it's not too late to change our fates. One of the ways I challenge myself to help this crisis is going vegan. Animal agriculture accounts for 7.1 gigatons of carbon emissions per year, and 14.5% of greenhouse gases released. Oxford University found that if everyone went vegan, we could reduce 2/3 of greenhouse gases by 2050. You could cut your water footprint in half by not eating meat. We've already seen severe droughts and water cuts throughout South Africa in the past couple years, but imagine that worsening. People living in poverty already have to travel miles to waterholes and taps to get a resource that we so easily take for granted.
If that isn't enough to convince you to go vegan, imagine all the innocent lives you'll be saving. Animal abuse is a huge part of dairy farming, also leading to high PTSD rates among animal farmers. You'll be saving around 100 lives per year by stopping your meat consumption. Planting trees can also make an enormous difference. Trees breathe in carbon dioxide and release oxygen. I'm sure we're all tired of learning about this in biology, including myself. But planting trees is actually the simplest and most effective way to reduce carbon emissions. Yet since 1990, 420 million hectares of land has been lost to deforestation. There's a man, no, a hero in Bangladesh, who planted a tree every day for 48 years. He has planted over 17,000 trees, which is enough to create a forest. Imagine if everyone just planted 1 tree per month. It's amazing how something that won't take you more than 20 minutes can have such a huge difference. Here's another common fact. The ice caps are melting. I feel like that's lost its meaning after being repeated so many times. So here's why you need to take it seriously again. For one, as the sea levels rise, so does the amount of floods. Going back to mass destruction, water is extremely powerful. Floods can destroy entire cities at a time. The ice caps also play a big role in temperature regulation. As they melt, the rate of global warming could increase. It's a vicious cycle that needs to stop. So wake up! We have to take action for ourselves and the generations to come. If we work together, we can create a better life for us all.
My name is Elena Corrales and I am in grade 11. I am a partner of Elsa and today I'll be speaking about my 2021 Challenge Accepted. For my Term 1 prepared speech assignment, we were given images to choose from that had no context. I was immediately drawn to the image of a chessboard. I started to doubt myself and thought there was nothing that I could relate this image to. When I looked a bit further, I discovered that not only does a chessboard represent various imagery we create in our minds, but also that it represents our lives on a daily basis. A chessboard is a type of game board used for the game of chess, on which the pieces are placed and moved around by the opponents. In comparison to this, people can identify as pawns, changed and moved to fit to where society desires them to be. The world we live in has a social hierarchy, restricted areas, and group stereotypes, much like in the game of chess. I challenged myself to look at a chessboard closer and see what it truly symbolises. The difference between the white and black pawns can identify the problems people of colour encounter every day. People not of the white privileged class face many consequences just for their skin tone or upbringing. My generation is fortunate enough to have never experienced apartheid, the process of being in different schools, restaurants, workplaces, and more. I could not imagine sitting in Reddam, or any school for that matter, with half of my classmates and friends missing. According to research done by Britannia.com, more than 3.5 million black South Africans were deprived of political power, were starved, and were forced to live in restricted Bantu stands. They lived in the game of chess, having to articulate and move to suit the white government. The change within South Africa started with the first black president, Nelson Mandela, who made it his life challenge to fight for the rights of black natives. Former US President Barack Obama echoed the issue of racial segregation by saying, "There are very few African American men in this country who haven't had the experience of being followed when they were shopping in a department store." Movements such as Black Lives Matter has been adopted and inspired black people all over the world to use their voices more frequently and free themselves from the injustice that they are faced with. As we mature, the idea of belonging and blending in becomes a more essential part of our lives. It can vary from joining a sporting club, to being a part of a popular clique, to having a seat in the boardroom of a business meeting. Kendra Cherry from Walmart.com states that people need personal connections in order to feel accepted and supported. Specifically, teenagers will change their behaviour in order to adapt with those that they seek approval from. We struggle with the game of chess constantly in regards to peer pressure. We sacrifice our own beliefs, morals, and happiness in order to achieve what others expect from us. Wendy Hutchinson from Mino.com wrote, "We are the masters of our own chess game. Sometimes we are the king or queen, the knight, the bishop, or pawn. If we want to be able to remove ourselves from an area we feel trapped in, we have to be the creators of our own story. I have come to the realization that it is not about being the best at anything. Sometimes you will win battles and sometimes you will lose. If you win, the importance is if you take your success graciously and cherish those who helped you along the way. Your losses only empower you more to keep trying and never succumb to the idea of failure or feeling like you will never move or grow into what you aspire for. I have made it my challenge for 2021 to become more aware, more vocal, more open, and more involved in progressing the world into a place where no one feels confined or imprisoned. When no man feels threatened when he is walking into a shopping centre or when he is getting pulled over for speeding by the police. A place where the happiest girl in school is actually sincere and that smile on her face is genuine, not forced. So take a minute out of your day to greet someone you usually would not approach. Have a meaningful conversation with a classmate that is not in your friend group. Most importantly, never raise yourself higher by putting someone else down. There will be many games in life we will not know how to play, whether it is within our society, our own lives, our families, or our high school. I encourage everyone to make this their 2021 challenge accepted, and to always remember that you are never anything less than the king or queen you deserve to be, no matter what others tell you. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kirsten Keswell. I'm from grade 11M and my house is Munster. The title of my speech today is An Army of a Mindset. In this day and age, it can be so easy for us to be influenced by people, opinions, trends, and social media with storms of negativity. It can be really hard to find who you are in a world that is constantly evolving, with people who are never satisfied and a moral compass that is always spinning. Despite all of these trials, this is a challenge I dare to accept, because I believe that with the right mindset, you will not only find your place in this world, but you will be able to manufacture and create a world of your own. According to the National Science Foundation, an average person has 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day, and 80% of those are negative. These thoughts can be caused by many things, such as insecurities, stress, exhaustion, as well as peer and parental pressure. They can stem from traumatic life events, substance abuse, and even illnesses, which can lead to extreme cases of anxiety. We start to have thoughts like, there isn't enough time, life is moving too fast and I can't keep up, or I'm not enough. I should be smarter, richer, or more attractive. Although negative thoughts are normal, the worst mistake anyone can ever make is to let it consume them, causing negative thinking to become a habit, which over time becomes an addiction. This can block you from seeing the bigger picture, leading you to believe things that aren't necessarily true, ultimately causing you to linger in a never-ending cycle of depression. You can only get out of the state if you consciously make the decision to solve the problem or reach out for help. Positivity is a choice that is a lot easier to make when you are surrounded by it. But unfortunately, negativity is always going to be there, which is all the more reason why you need to have a strong mindset, so that when negative thoughts, negative ideas, and negative people come your way, you will have the power to choose how you let it affect you. The way I see it, your mind is your kingdom, your fortress, and your safe space. You've built up walls to protect yourself, and you've set laws from which you live by. You take refuge here because you know that it's safe, but with peace comes war. Your enemy, negativity, constantly tries to attack and invade your kingdom, knocking down walls and breaking laws in hopes to take over, which is exactly why you need to have an army of your own, your mindset. Soldiers and warriors to fight back to protect the beautiful kingdom that you've created for yourself. Without your army, your kingdom is left vulnerable, giving your enemy ample opportunity to invade and destroy. Once you understand how crucial it is to have a strong mindset and how it practically dictates your every move, response, and action in life, Every form of anxiety, depression, fear, and negativity fades away because you know that they don't stand a chance at winning. Sun Tzu, a military strategist, once said, "If you know your enemy and you know yourself, you need not fear the results of 100 battles." And with that, I say, challenge accepted. What about you?
Good evening, I'm Cassidy Fox, grade 11, House Connaught, and my topic for my speech is fish out of water. Most of us have probably heard the phrase of a fish being out of water, which implies a fish being away from its comfortable environment, which is water. In my speech, I have used this phrase to compare a person being outside of their comfort zones. Just like a fish that would not be able to survive outside of water, many people find it unbearable to be outside of their comfort zones. Comfort zones are not only physical environments in which people find their comfort in, but also mental comfort zones. According to Wikipedia, a comfort zone is a psychological state in which things feel familiar to a person and they are at ease and in control of their environment, experiencing low levels of stress and anxiety. I have found that I become highly stressed and anxious when a sudden event is thrown at me and forces me outside of my comfort zone. For example, being asked to speak in front of people. Not many people will freely choose to do one of the biggest fears that they have. Everybody has different fears. And if you had to think about the biggest fear that you have right now, I am pretty sure that none of you will freely choose to do that right now. That is because we would choose to rather remain inside of our comfort zones than step out of them and do something that we fear. According to Laura Chakes, who is a licensed psychologist, stepping outside of the comfort zone brings anxiety, but it has therapeutic effects for mental health. Stepping out of your comfort zone allows you to explore new things that you might think are impossible for you to do, like singing in front of a crowd or skydiving. And by stepping outside of your comfort zone, you take the risk to learn from the experience, which might lead to a positive or a negative impact on your life. It also helps you to deal with change, and it can make change a whole lot easier. Life transitions are all about change. I recently listened to a TED Talk by Christopher Wong, all about the importance of stepping outside of the comfort zone. At the age of 40, Christopher was diagnosed with depression, and he decided to rather surround himself with positive people than take medication, as he believed that it would not solve his depression. At the time, he was a successful lawyer. Law was what he was good at. Law was his comfort zone. He found his safety and security in what he did. But he went on to say that law was not what he was passionate about. He decided to do numerous things to step outside of the comfort zone, to overcome his fears and depression. The activities done were joining the WWF Conservation, becoming a spokesperson for the I'm Finished campaign, writing a book, bungee jumping, skydiving, and mountain climbing to the Everest Base Camp. He said that challenging himself reinvented who he was. Christopher said that once you step outside of your comfort zone, there will be new opportunities in life, which you will never know unless you take that step outside of your comfort zone. Christopher ended up leaving the legal practice and joined the Malaysia Book of Records organization, which he is now very passionate about. If you want to learn new things, have more opportunities, find what you are passionate about, and challenge your fears head on, you need to identify your comfort zones and take small steps to get outside of those comfort zones. Challenge accepted. I would like to end off with a quote by Neil Donald Walsh. Life begins at the end of your comfort zone.
Hi, my name is Shayna Smith. I am in grade 11 in Munster House. This topic is challenge accepted. My biggest challenge began 124 years ago. In 1897, James Leonard Riley was born. He led a very successful life. He was an ichthyologist and university professor whose claim to fame came when he identified the coelacanth, a dinosaur fish that was thought to have been extinct for millions of years. Using only an amateurish drawing of a fish and a 2-inch fossil's image from a textbook he had seen a few years prior, he claimed that this fish was not extinct. Despite doubt from his peers, he set out on a 2-year journey to prove his claims. Not only was James a mastermind, but also a walking miracle. He survived the sting from a stonefish, which has one of the deadliest poisons in the world. Unfortunately, after watching a friend fall victim to a stroke, in 1968, he took his own life by cyanide poisoning. How ironic! Survive one poison just to lose to another. In honour, the JLB Institute of Ichthyology in Grahamstown was established. He was awarded many honours and was made a Fellow of the Royal Society of South Africa. However, according to Vital Seals, he would often say, "Give it to a younger man who is still climbing and who will really appreciate it. It is wasted on me." My challenge became even tougher in 1939 when William MacDonald was born. At Rhodes University, he studied a Bachelor of Science in Physics and Chemistry, an Honours in Chemistry, and impressively completed his Masters in only 7 months. He found his love for teaching when he taught his girlfriend chemistry. His fame came about with the inception of Star Schools, the first multiracial school in South Africa. 2 years ago, he was awarded the prestigious Baobab Award by President Cyril Ramaphosa for his contribution to education in South Africa. He said, "I tend to use simple language, and that is an important thing in broadcasting. A lot of people try and impress with words, and the second you use a word that someone does not understand, you have lost them." I could not agree more. William, as well as James, are among the top 100 people in the last millennium to have the greatest impact on South Africa. Finally, my challenge was escalated with the birth of David in 1971. He had a rusty start when he wasn't accepted into medical school. This forced him to study a Bachelor of Science degree for a year, with the hopes of doing well enough to be accepted into first-year medicine the following year. In a class of 200, he graduated first place, advancing him to second-year medicine. He volunteered as a paramedic for 6 years and lectured and taught new paramedics, all for no pay. After graduating, he opened his own medical practice, now known as Kloof Medical Centre. This practice has been highly successful for over 20 years, providing patients with access to more than 10 other medical professionals. David is a very well-known and respected doctor and member of the community. J.L.B. Smith, my great-grandfather. William Smith, my grandfather. David Smith, my father. These men have lived highly successful lives, which is great for them. But it means I have very, very big shoes to fill. No pressure. But I am not one to back down. Challenge accepted.
Our children are starving, our women are scared, our lights are out, and our leaders are not trustworthy. This is my country. Discriminated because of our skin color, relying on gated communities for our safety, and having our education system ranked at 124 out of 136 countries. This is my country. Poverty, corruption, femicide, crime, and racism are words that are not strangers to our mouths as citizens of South Africa. This is our country. Yes, we are known as this third world, poverty-struck, crime-ridden country. But I think it is important to keep in mind that our country was not always like this. We have potential, and we have always had the potential. We are known to be mineral rich. Our weather is like no other. We are the land of the Big Five and the Rainbow Nation. And can I just add as a side note that Cook Sisters, milk tarts, and our lekker Sunday braais are the real joys of South Africa. Anyway, at the Rivonia trial in 1964, Nelson Mandela gave a speech, and I found his ending lines awe-inspiring. He said, "I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. Is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve. But if needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die." For those of you who are not aware, my dream career is law, branching off into politics. And a question that I often tend to ask myself is whether I should just immigrate and escape this nightmare, or stay and redeem my home for our youth and generations to come. I think that question is not something that only I should be asking myself, but us as the youth of South Africa should be asking ourselves. We are at the brink of our futures. Isn't it crazy to think that in about a year from now, we will all be given the ability to vote? The future of this country will be in our hands. Yet, sadly, so many of us want to leave. We want to abandon our home and our roots. According to the UN's data set, the number of South African-born persons residing outside of South Africa has multiplied by a number of 3 over 20 years. Our skilled workers are leaving. The people who have the potential to turn this country around are leaving. My uncle from New Zealand often calls and continuously tries to convince me to move overseas. Don't get me wrong, New Zealand is absolutely beautiful. But what kind of person or leader or politician for that matter would I be if I were to abandon my home in a time of need? My purpose remains here in our land. I aspire to make South Africa great again. I want to channel my disappointment and anger into a voice of protest. I want to stand up for what I believe in. I believe in equality. I want to follow in the footsteps of our great leader Nelson Mandela and fight to live in harmony in South Africa. I'm sure you have all heard the saying, "Be the change you want to see in the world." This is another great quote of another great leader, Mahatma Gandhi. We all as individuals can fight to make a difference in our country. We need to find and fight for what we believe in. We need to acknowledge our country's wrongs and step up to make our home a home again. Our ancestors did not fight blood, sweat, and tears for us to just up and leave. It is our duty as the children of South Africa. Let us fight to maintain a beautiful South Africa. Challenge accepted. It starts with us.
My name is Bhaven Govender. I am in grade 11. My house is Leinster. And the topic I will be covering today is obstacles. Challenge accepted. But what does this mean? What does it mean to you? Well, to me, it means the obstacles that come along your journey when pursuing your dreams and goals. Obstacles. Fascinating. don't you think? Well, you probably don't think as much, do you? And it's mainly because the word obstacles, it has such negative connotations. But to me, when I hear the word obstacles, I get excited. I get excited because to me, it's a good thing. And I see it as a good thing because I know that there's only two possible ways an obstacle in your journey can pan out. One, you see this massive task and you give up. Or you see the massive task, you attempt it, but you don't try your best because you think it's impossible. And now the second way it can pan out is you embrace it. You accept the challenge. If you just change your whole attitude towards something, I promise you can achieve something different. Because as Albert Einstein said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So why do we do the same thing over and over? We come to an obstacle and we always have such a negative attitude, and yet we attempt it and we get the same results. Then we complain. And that's why I see obstacles as a good thing. Because I know that it's just a test in my long journey to victory, a test that I know I can overcome. You know, one of my favorite TV series, How I Met Your Mother, it has this character, his name's Barney, and his catchphrase is, "Challenge accepted." And yes, that is why I said challenge accepted the way I did in the beginning. But I bring Barney up. I bring him up to speak about his mentality. Every time Barney hears about a challenge, or just something impossible, he always accepts it. For example, he may be at the bar with his friends, just getting a drink, and one of his friends might turn to him and go, "Oh, it's probably impossible to pick up a girl in a scuba suit." And as soon as he hears the words, impossible, and a possible challenge, he screams out, "Challenge accepted!" And don't you think that's how people should be? They should take something head on. Never stop or settle for mediocrity. Because Barney didn't. He never rested or winked. He never stopped until that challenge was completed, and completed successfully. And that's what I learned from him. I learned to never give up, to always pursue what I wanted. And that's where the saying comes in. Don't rest when you're tired. Rest when you're done. But a reason for people not pursuing their dreams, or even attempting to overcome these obstacles, are haters. People are so self-conscious, they're so worried about what other people think of them, that they lose sight of what they truly desire. And why should we care about what other people think? They're not the ones living our lives. They're not the ones walking around in our shoes. Chris Gardner put it best. When speaking to his son, he said, "Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. People can't do something themselves. They want to tell you you can't do it. You got a dream. You got to protect it. Period." And that is why I stand here in front of you, ladies and gentlemen. I stand here to help you change your attitude towards obstacles. To encourage you to go home, find out what you're passionate about, and pursue it. Never give up. Did you know that only 8% of people actually achieve their dreams? But I'm more worried about the 92% of people that don't achieve their dreams. And I just want to flip that number. And it all just may start with you just accepting the challenge.
Tanika Keshav, grade 12, Leinster, and my topic is Through the Chaos. All the matric students of 2021 hoped for some kind of normality heading into our matric year. Instead, we were faced with 2 weeks of online schooling while still having to deal with the emotional tax of the pandemic and mounting matric pressure. Quite a challenging predicament, I would say. As impossible and as unfathomable as it seemed to just motor on, we did. And we found ourselves flying through the last first term of our schooling career. Here, I believe, is where we encountered the true challenge. Sitting, reflecting, and acknowledging the reality of the situation. As the pandemic hit, many people moved into survival mode, having lost jobs, human connection, and having to shift their entire lifestyle. This led to the nuances and subtleties of everyday life becoming obliterated by this overwhelming need to just stay afloat. People shifted out of their comfort zones into this realm on living on a needs basis. This created a society based purely on needs. But as we all know, necessity is the mother of invention. So we see new solutions emerging to new problems. One of the challenges that people may have encountered is coming to grips with the fact that their lives have changed forever and would never go back to the way they were pre-pandemic. Looking at pictures and videos of concerts and crowded parties seem like they exist in a vastly different world. Some people merely ignore this change and may have fallen into a slump, which is the easier thing to do. The more challenging thing is to pick oneself out of the slump and to go on living life to its fullest again. Our society is currently living on a day-to-day basis, and surviving the day can be seen as an accomplishment, which is quite bizarre, considering that pre-pandemic, a casual day might have consisted of a 10-kilometer run, watching the sunrise, a full school day, a casual poetry soiree, and some evening dance classes. In essence, our shift in lifestyle has caused a shift in mindset that is not conducive for growth. The only way we can grow as individuals is to acknowledge the reality, to reflect on it, and take action into living our lives again. Personally, I've done this through turning my passion for baking into a business. I can now spend any free time I might have doing something I love while making a little money on the side. This is a very fulfilling experience in the face of change and uncertainty. According to an article on Transforming Society, 85% of people in the UK would like to keep some of the changes in their lives caused by the pandemic, including healthier eating habits, better exercise, and working from home. Here we can see that people are using the challenges presented to them to improve their lifestyle. I see many teenagers, like myself, scrolling through Instagram, that have started new businesses using the skills that they have out of enjoyment or necessity. But here we see many people have taken up the challenge of emerging from this tumultuous time by following their passions. I've read and heard numerous stories of people who've lost their 9-to-5 jobs but are pursuing what they've always wanted to, such as an accountant who was retrenched via email, but then used skills she had acquired from beauty training courses to now do cosmetic and hair treatments for people. So challenges threaten our security and stability, but a chaotic world is something that allows us to either grow a new shield or burst into the new world in a new way. We need to ensure as a society that we are able to thrive in life instead of merely surviving. So it's always important to just take a moment to watch the sunset or feel the grass between your toes or just take a deep breath. And to remember that living your passion through the chaos is always the best way. In the words of the poet Christopher Poindexter, the thing about chaos is that while it disturbs us, it too forces our hearts to roar in a way we secretly find magnificent.
Well done to all our seniors for their brilliant speeches. I would like to give an overall congratulations to all our brave and intelligent speakers. I hope that you feel more motivated after listening to all these speeches to actually accept a challenge of your own. I would like to give a huge thanks to our adjudicators, Mr. Dareth Crawford, Mrs. Yotta Konstantopoulos, and Mrs. Chantal Morcott. I'll be ending off with a quote by Robert F. Kennedy. Only those who dare to fail greatly can ever achieve greatly. Thank you for watching.